Hello and welcome to another beautiful edition of Iron Port. This Iron Port program has been designed to bring the port and maritime industry closer to you and you closer to the port and maritime industry. It is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Goyle Company Limited, Serene Insurance and Ghana Link, the company that brings you the integrated customs management system. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times. Remember, all that transpires here on Iron Port will be found in the Thursday edition of the BNFT. Make sure you grab one. Today we are discussing sustainable shipping. If you've been following the international news, you realize that it's a highly reported subject. You hear how the shipping industry is trying to go green and how ship owners are strategizing to ordering eco-friendly vessels. To zoom into this subject with particular focus on what is happening here in Ghana, we engaged the acting director in charge of technical services at the Ghana Maritime Authority to update us. Take a listen.
What is sustainable shipping?
So when you talk about sustainable shipping, like green shipping, it's about applying the concept of sustainable development into shipping and taking into consideration the environment and socio-economic development. And sustainable shipping is key in keeping the environment clean and ensuring that these long voyages are continuously going on and the provision of the goods and services for human consumption is pertinent.
I know the IMO, which is responsible for regulating the shipping industry globally, in recent times have been trumpeting the issue of carbon emissions and how to get it reduced in our waters, in waters across the globe. So I just want to find out from you how far they have come and whether you can throw more light on this particular initiative.
The International Maritime Organization, taking into consideration that the exhaust being emitted into the atmosphere, shipping takes about 90% of the transport sector emissions into the atmosphere. And if you look at shipping as well, about 3.5 to 4% of the climate change emissions is coming from shipping, international shipping. And with this in mind, the primary gases are carbon dioxide from this climate change emissions from ships. So with this in mind, there was also research that if nothing is done between now and 2050, the percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will increase to 250%. And taking into consideration these huge sums of pollution is coming from the ships, there has been initiatives whereby this amount of emissions from the ships would be minimized. So the International Maritime Organization, as I said, is responsible for creating a regulatory framework. So there was an initial IMO strategy for the reduction of emissions, greenhouse gas emissions from ships, with the intention to reduce the emission from ships to 50% by the year 2050. So in June, there was an amendment, which was a major one, to take a step in line with the IMO strategy, which was adopted in 2018, so that we could have the ships to conduct what we call the EEXI, which is the Energy Efficiency of Existing Ships Index, which is a technical issue based on certain parameters which have been set up for different types of ships and different categories of ships and different sizes of ships. So it is mandatory now for every ship to calculate the energy efficiency of that ship and then produce a report. And apart from that, the amendment also requires every ship to establish a carbon identification index, carbon indication index of every ship. The amendments are coming to modernize or to put some kind of reforms to an initial procedure, which we call the EEDI, Efficiency Energy Design Index, for new ships. If you want to build a new ship, you go into the process of getting this efficiency, engine efficiency, the design index, before you can build that engine.
All right. Okay, so you mentioned that the IMO has made it compulsory for ships to comply with the EEXI and the EEDI. Yes. Are the ships complying?
It was passed in June. And the
June 2021?
June 2021 by MEPC. And the enforcement date is November 1, 2022 for the EEXI and the CII. Okay, so from now to 2022, November 1, ships are to prepare towards, and we need to take pragmatic measures to comply with that.
So, Captain, I know that in 2019, the IMO sought to implement this particular policy where ships were made to implement a sulfur cap of 0.50%. How far has it come with this initiative?
Well, with 0.5% MM means mass by mass, of the sulfur content in the heavy fuel oil of ships. It came in 1st January 2020 was the date of enforcement. But actually this started long time ago in 2016 where studies were done on human life, the impact of sulfur dioxide on human life, and it was disastrous. The results show that, the results of the study show that if nothing is done, from 2020 to 2050, they estimated about 570,000 premature deaths because of the effect of sulfur on human health. So that was how come there were deliberations and studies, and then we came up with the 0.5 content of sulfur in heavy fuel oil for ships. And it's been implemented, and there has been compliance in this aspect. So initially, the sulfur content of HFO for all ships was 3.5% M by M. For instance, if you have a mass of fuel, the content or the amount of sulfur in that fuel should weigh 3.5% of the total amount of that fuel that you have. So it was 3.5.
Right.
And now we have 0.5. So from 3.5 to 0.5 has been a significant and a drastic step, a reduction, which we all determined at the IMO that it was sufficient to achieve what we actually wanted. There were options given to the ship operator or the ship owner. You either buy a fuel which has 0.5 sulfur content in it, or you put in what we call exhaust gas cleaning system. So certainly it had cost implication. So with the introduction of that, we were thinking maybe the ship owners or operators, considering the effect of this on all human beings, may try to absorb that. But it was not so easy. So it was somehow transferred. And now it's gone even.
So I want to find out whether we have been able to localize or, so to speak, domesticate these directives in Ghana. And what role does the IMO have, does the Ghana Maritime Authority have to play in all of this?
With the sulfur cap, as you said, before it came into being, there has been a lot of sensitization, seminars with the Ghana Shippers, or stakeholders, Ghana Shippers Authority, and then we implemented it. So we are carrying it out, and it's a priority to Ghana Maritime Authority We do that through what we call port state control. Port state control and flag state implementation. So the port state control, we ensure that every ship coming into the country, into our ports, comply with the international conventions that are related to that type of ship. Okay, so we carry out port state control. And for the sulfur cap, we've done a lot. The main action points when port state control is you go on the ship to ensure that they comply.
Right.
So with the sulfur cap, as you mentioned, we go on board, our inspectors go on board, and there are two key things that they need to check. What we call the bunker delivery note. It shows where you get a bunker. Bunker is the fuel that the ship burns.
Yes.
Just like the car burning petrol.
Petrol, yeah.
The ship
diesel.
burns heavy fuel or diesel, or we call it bunker. So a bunker delivery note will show the quantity of the fuel you received, where you got it, the quantity or the composition of the sulfur content in that, and so many other requirements as stipulated in the provisions of the convention.
Right.
So you check that. And this is what you need to find out whether the ship is compliant with this. The second aspect is what we call sampling. The bunker sample, we have the bunker sample which every master or chief engineer must take, and then it's sealed and labeled. So you can test this to find out the sulfur content in that particular bunker that you received, in that sample. And because of this, the Ghana Maritime Authority has purchased equipment so that you can easily test the samples to determine the quantity of sulfur in that heavy oil.
Is this particular policy of the IMO binding, and are there punitive measures or sanctions against non-compliant or intransigent vessels?
But talking about punitive measures, the MARPOL Convention actually, and not only the MARPOL Convention, conventions that are ratified, no, they are adopted, ratified, and applied universally. These kind of conventions do not put in punitive measures. But for MARPOL, with regards to MARPOL, Article 4 of the MARPOL Convention strictly prohibits non-compliance. It strictly prohibits non-compliance. But it puts the responsibility on the member state or the administration where the ship is flying to put in penalties in their local laws. With port state control, it is not for the authority to charge. You put a ship right, the best thing you can do to that is to, if it is a detainable non-compliant, you keep the ship till they rectify that. That is port state control. You don't charge. But if you are going back to see whether this thing has been done, that is where you can institute a charge. But for pollution, we at the administration, we don't determine this as port state control, but MARPOL violation. And as I mentioned, that Article 4 of MARPOL says the administrations should institute or shall institute penalties that are severe to discourage. So we have penalties that we give in MARPOL violations.
Have there been instances where you go on vessels and realize that, okay, this particular vessel is not using the right, sulfur content, or maybe there's something that the vessel has not done to comply with this particular directive? What do you do?
As I mentioned, with port state control, we look out for non-compliance or violations, and with port state control, we have detainable defects.
So have you ever detained a vessel because of this?
Oh, yes. And when you detain a vessel, you only notify them to rectify that deficiency.
Before they set sail again?
Before they set sail.
All right, so what's your assessment of our performance as an industry in Ghana? Better still, how would you rate our industry in terms of performance?
Our industry, talking
Yes.
about the maritime
Industry,
we
yes.
are doing very well. To me, we are doing very well. Not because I work with the Maritime Authority, but globally, we are reckoned.
So as you've just heard, those are Ghana's efforts so far with respect to sustainable shipping. We at Iron Port would like to urge the industry to work harder to protect the environment as we grow the maritime trade. Iron Port returns after this break.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at some few local port and maritime stories. The board chairman of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Isaac OSEI, has stated that Ghana's ports are well positioned not only to be the gateway to trade in the sub-region, but also as a transit point for the landlocked countries. Isaac OSEI said this when the reconstituted board of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority paid the working visit to the port of Tema.
Tema is uniquely positioned, and I'm very happy that we have also staff who are properly qualified to deliver on the mandates that we've been given.
He was optimistic that equipment challenges at the ports will be resolved.
Equipment challenges, but I think we agree that we can resolve some of them. Not all of them at a go, but definitely we can resolve some of them. And I think the Director General is very determined on that score.
He said he intends to bring his experience in both the public and private sectors of the economy to bear as he leads the GPHA board. The Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Michael Lugoje, said the Port Authority will continue to provide the needed infrastructure and business environment for trade facilitation and economic development.
We were looking forward to ending the year with container traffic of just about 1 million TEUs. We ended 1.28 million TEUs, which was significant because we never expected, even in a COVID year. Now, this year in particular, looking at January to June, we've ended seeing significant growth of Tema doing almost about 39% above budget. We've exceeded budget by 39%.
He revealed that there is a joint effort from stakeholders to ensure that arbitrary charges at the ports are scrapped.
But we are looking at that solution in conjunction with Shippers Authority and then also the Ministry of Transport to see how we can dialogue and try and see which areas this kind of cost can be minimized. But again, apart from just dialogue, there's a need for legislation that can provide the necessary backing to help. And I think Shippers Authority is looking at its law right now.
The GPHA board took a tour of the port of Tema to enable them to have first-hand experience of operations in the port. The board members visited the Marine Section, Golden Jubilee Terminal, Reefer Terminal, and the MPS Terminal 3. The board were later introduced to top management of the authority, followed by an interactive session which included an orientation on the operations of GPHA. The presentations included an overview of the Port Authority, the status of the authority's finances, and updates on projects capturing old and new projects spanning Tema, Takrade, and Keta. The Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Michael Lugoje, has assured the port community and Ghanaians in general of a bright future for the ports of Ghana as management pursues initiatives that would guarantee continued success for the ports. Speaking at this year's GPHA Strategic Management Summit in the outskirts of Accra, he emphasized his optimism for growth while recounting some of the challenges of the past few years.
We weren't very sure. Our last strategic meeting we had was 2019, where we couldn't plan properly because reefer containers were gone, and a number of MPS containers we are handling today, container volume we are handling in Tema today, there was no certainty that we were going to have them. So we couldn't plan for equipment. We couldn't plan for staff. Everything was uncertain at that time.
The strategic management meeting is a major activity the leadership of the authority undertakes to review performance and plan for the future, taking into consideration critical changes in the port business. The GPHA boss said management over the past few years had to work assiduously to enhance capacity and productivity for business continuity. He revealed that as a result of the strong collaboration between management and staff, the authority was able to cut costs and create employment.
And you've seen a strategic decision that we've taken, a major reform never heard of in GPHA history, where we've decided to tackle the problem of overtime. And we tackled it, ensuring that everybody participated in the reasoning behind it, both labor and management. And we've used that savings to also tackle a national crisis, which is unemployment.
Michael Lugoje assured clients of the port of improved efficiency through key strategic reforms, as well as tightened collaborations with stakeholders.
We heard about the issue about scheduling. Why will reefer clearing agents only come in the evenings? So there is scheduling that is going to be done. But that scheduling is not going to be dictated by Tema Port to the freight forwarders. They are going to be engaged before the scheduling will be done, so that you know that you must come in the morning, you must come in the afternoon, you must come in the evening. By so doing, you are part of the decision making, and then you go by it, and then there won't be this crumbling in the evenings where, people keep complaining, we are there, you cannot serve us and all that.
Now let's take our lenses to the international scene to see what is happening around the world. Just over a week after announcing that it would begin a rolling job action across Australia's ports, the Maritime Union of Australia agreed to suspend the action at the Port of Melbourne. The decision to stop the strike came after as many as a third of the workers at one of the port's terminals were forced into isolation due to 2 cases of COVID-19. Sales of tankers for demolition reached a 39-month high during September, yet with the sector notorious for holding on to tonnage and oil prices on the rise, the long-expected rebalancing of supply and demand among the tanker operations appears still to be delayed. Industry Trade Group BIMCO reports that a total of 1.9 million deadweight tonnage of capacity was removed in September from the tanker sector. This compares with sales of just a total of 2.2 million deadweight tonnage of capacity scrapped in the prior 8 months of 2021. Diamond Group has completed construction and sea trials on the first of a new generation crude transfer vessel, and it is preparing to undergo final outfitting before it undertakes proof of concept trials in the North Sea. The vessel combines features of speed and larger passenger capacity, along with elements to enhance comfort, which Diamond says creates a compelling new business case for both the oil and gas sector and the emerging offshore wind industry. All right, so let's take a look at the schedule of vessels that have berthed within the port, those at Anchorage and those expected in the coming weeks, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rates, which you may need to know to clear your cargo with. All right, let's listen to a few comments from viewers of our program. Miftao from Tamale says, a good step towards sustainable shipping. However, still a long road to travel. Before all ships are emission-free, sustainable shipping starts with finding solutions that allow companies to forecast demand, looking for the right technologies and training staff on how to use them and evaluating shipping methods. This one says, what amount of sulfur content is considered acceptable in diesel oil? Hi, our resource person says all fuels must have less than 0.50 sulfur content in them. He said, however, that in sulfur emission control areas, 0.1 is the acceptable level of sulfur content. This one also says, can you find out from Captain Inusa what are Ghana's efforts to leverage LNG, as it seems that is the direction globally? Captain Inusa says LNG provision is still in its infant stages. He says it involves complete remodification of the engine. He said LNG is very sustainable, but it is very expensive. All right, so that's all for today's edition of Eye on Port. Remember, you can watch all that transpires here on our program on YouTube at Eye on Port. Thank you for watching.